Without further ado, let's get started. So this is our final week wrapping up our flow state of February flow. And before we get into the details and kind of recap what we've been talking about and discuss what's been working for you and what you're and what hasn't been working for you or what changes you've noticed, I'd like to drop into a little bit of a grounding practice. And because we are working with our flow state, this grounding is going to be a little bit more of an activation of our flow state as opposed to, but it's an embodiment practice. So it is grounding in that sense. So here we go. So flow free, as we know, okay, let's just get to it. So we're going to clap our hands together if we can, get some heat generated between our hands. Starting to feel the warmth, applying some pressure between our hands. And now just, I like to cross the hands over because it tends to lessen the amount of pressure you're going to be using. And if you lean forward and get into your clavicles, right here, just above your clavicle bone that runs along this clavicle bone. And if you can get into this section, this little soft depression. And if you don't have a depression there, and if it's puffy, that might be a sign of stagnant lymph. And we're just going to pump it 36 times, just gently, almost like a scooping action. Looking at my guitar behind me, I'm coming to you from Vegas today. I live in Vegas as well, so you might find this background more often in the future. Okay, so we're just going to pump that about 36 times. That's a magic number in Chinese medicine. And we're just opening up the termini here. And now we can just use our fingers to gradually just encourage fluid to flow down our necks. You know, sometimes with stagnant lymph, we can see puffiness under the eyes in the morning, especially. Maybe even our eyelids are puffier than normal sometimes, depending on our diet, how hydrated we are, how much flow state we have, how much tension we're carrying in our body. And then I like to release it in the back of my neck, going up into that little ridge that you get to the back of your skull, like into that hairline. It's the occipital ridge. We can carry a lot of tension here, especially with our forward neck motion, always being at our desk, looking at our phones and screens. Just releasing that tension can also improve our flow state of both blood and lymph. That's what we're talking about this month. And now we're going to cross our arms over once again, and we're that meaty section between where your arm and your chest kind of meet. This is a major terminus lymph area as well. That stagnation can occur. So if we just, again, we use these two fingers, middle finger and ring finger in a scooping motion, just a few more pumps there to get that blood flow and lymph flow. Mostly our lymph right now is what we're focusing on. Don't forget to take some long, deep belly breaths. And now I invite you to bring your hands under your armpits. And again, same motion, and maybe just kind of exploring the armpits. Where do you feel tenderness? And that's where you should probably focus your stimulation. So we've had our termini here, this area, by our pecs, under the armpits, that's 3. And then we're going to move our hands. If we follow our breastbone, that sternum down between our in the center of our chest, and we come down to that point, the end of the sternum, our xiphoid process. Underneath that is kind of like our diaphragm, kind of sits along our rib cage line. And when we breathe, that's also stimulating lymph and blood flow. When we deep belly breathe, expanding our chest and our rib cage. But we're going to use our fingers to massage underneath that and tip of our breastbone area, that sternum. We might feel a little tenderness, maybe even a little bit of sensation in the belly. It's all connected. And I'm pumping that up. Again, stimulating lymph flow. And now I'm just going to move my fingers along my rib cage, kind of just use them as hooks. Maybe I lean slightly forward, allow my body weight to get in there and kind of just stimulating along that diaphragm. It can get kind of stuck in a sense. And now I'm going along down to my hip bones and finding the crease between my legs and my hips into my inner groin area where we have major lymph nodes. And I'm doing the same motion, stimulating the groin lymph area where it can get stagnant. You might even feel some nodules in there, some lymph nodes. Take note of what you're feeling. Maybe one side you feel it more prominent than the other. And now I'm going to move behind the knee. And I'm using that scooping motion up towards my chest, towards my heart. So I'm stimulating the major lymph area nodes behind the kneecap, behind the knee, that soft tissue there. And now cross one leg over almost like a figure four, so you can access your ankle. And again, I'm now pinching both sides of my Achilles and kind of massaging up towards my heart, upwards. Yeah, 12 to 36 times there on one ankle, and then switch to the other. So we always want to be well hydrated. Today I'm going to recap hydration. And there we go. Now you can just kind of shake it out. Did anyone feel lymph nodes or tender spots in any of these major areas? Check the chat, just in case.
I didn't feel anything.
Okay. You didn't feel any?
Felt good, but I didn't feel like any, no, I didn't feel any swelling or anything.
Okay, good.
My Achilles have been kind of bothering me a little bit lately though. So I have been doing that massage right there quite a bit. But right now,
Oh, good.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me, Dr. Mindy shared with us once what she was stepping into a 3-day fast. She does that twice a year for longevity reasons. And Dr. Mindy Pels, and she shared with us that she had this reoccurring Achilles injury. And she, around the 72-hour mark, she started feeling a buzzing in that area. And she supported her body, checked in with herself, felt safe to continue with the fasting, with, supported with minerals, and the stem cells that peak around 72 hours kept going. And she was feeling a tingling, sort of, she explained it as a buzzing sensation in that Achilles area that she had trouble with. And she almost went into a 5-day water fast, and her Achilles healed itself. That's the intelligence of the body that happens during those extended fasting. The body will repair injuries and soft tissue damage that need repair and release stem cells where we need it most. How brilliant is that? So I love that story. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And if you need help being supported through a longer fast, Mel, I got your back. So let me know when you're ready.
Okay. I've been thinking about it, but not yet.
I got it. Yeah. A lot of people, it's a mental game too, because you're thriving in ketosis. And, no such thing as a failed fast. However long you make it is a milestone to celebrate. And then understanding what symptoms you might feel through the process is an opportunity to understand where your body needs extra support. So maybe that's, just food for thought, something to think about. I'm just going to check the chat and make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, good to go. Okay, so yeah, so this little lymphatic stimulation that we just did together is something that you can lean into in the morning to help with that morning stiffness, to help optimize your flow state. It's a great thing to do after perhaps just having some structured water or fresh water, filtered water with lemon juice and some good quality salt minerals, either like beam minerals. Those are my favorite because they have the humic and fulvic acid in their full spectrum. And also, I think Baja Gold is another quality salt that we can get that has naturally occurring lower potassium and higher content of minerals that are the beneficial cofactors that we need to get the water into the cells where needed to hydrate, as well as help with detoxification. So I just wanted to do today, first of all, I wanted to allow the opportunity for either of you to unmute yourself and let me know if there's anything that came up since last week and the things that you may have been applying that may have changed or moved the needle for you, or things that seem to be working, or a new habit stack that you're doing.
So I think this is like so kind of is I'm kicking myself, but so like for the past couple weeks, I've been having these constipation issues and I've been trying every single thing, like I did the aloe vera juice, I've been doing the apple cider vinegar every day, just doing every single thing, and I still felt like nothing was working. Well, or like at least once a week I would just have an issue. And I was like, I don't want to, and it's like kind of messes me up for a couple days after that. But I realized the other night, I'm like, I'm actually realizing that I'm not drinking enough water, which is so dumb. Like, that's the first thing that you should be checking. And that's the first thing I always, and pretty much all I drink is water, besides, like, I drink coffee in the morning, but that's all I drink is water. But I wasn't, even though I was drinking water all day, it wasn't what I like, at least it wasn't even hitting the 64 like ounces. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to be more consciously drinking water. And since then, it's been like my body's been so much better with all that, just flushing everything out better. Things are, just easy, everything's going easier. So really dumb. Yeah. I mean, I was just like, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't realize that I should be, I don't know, drinking more.
Yeah, it's a good, don't beat yourself up over it. It's a good learning opportunity. And also, going back to the basics, like we could flood our system with 64 ounces of water, and maybe making sure that you're not getting it all in at once, because again, it's like that. If you look at the desert floor, or like, the ground that hasn't seen water for a while, we want to sip water. If a torrential rain comes, we get flash flooding, the water runs off the surface and it just goes to the ocean, right? We want that nice, steady hydration throughout the day. So whatever it is for you, what works for you, it's just maybe you have, your water bottle next to you and you're just, consciously having it in the line of sight so that you're not forgetting to hydrate. But that's a beautiful, don't kick yourself, don't beat yourself up, but you figured it out, and it deserved the reward for understanding that hydration was something that was missing for you. So congrats on that. And sometimes also the temperature of the water you're drinking and the timing of the water is important as well. We've talked about hydrating between meals, just so that sometimes we can throw our digestive system off if we're overhydrating during mealtime, because often we're drinking cold drinks with ice, and that'll put out our digestive fire. And then also it dilutes our digestive enzymes and stomach acid. So we just want to be conscious of that as well, because that could slow things moving through the system as well. And not just, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, cool. Veronica, did you have something to add? I saw that you came back on camera, but I didn't know if you unmuted yourself for a second there. Oh,
No, I just every time you mention fasting, it's something I definitely want to try. And I start almost every day fasting, but then I end up eating. But my boyfriend just left this morning, so I'm gonna try to do a 72-hour fast.
oh wow. Okay.
And if there's anything you want to email me or text me to help, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
Because I
well, if I
definitely
can,
am inflamed, not inflamed, but bloated.
yeah,
Can you still hear me or no?
I can hear you just fine.
Oh,
So
good. Oh, fantastic.
yeah, so I guess if I can better understand your goals for fasting, why you would want to do a 72-hour fast, then I can
Yeah.
better support you as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So
And health, it's good, like you said,
yeah,
so good for us.
yeah, it really is. So, and I know you have a fasting sort of somewhat of a fasting lifestyle, like you've been leaning,
Mhm.
your daily routine sounds like it might be like a 14-hour, or what do you think
At
you're,
least, yeah.
okay.
Probably last meal at 8, and then I don't eat till after 12.
And what about your drinks? Sometimes people forget that certain things can pull us out of a fast.
I drink a lot of tea, probably 10 cups a day, and maybe 1 or 2 cups of coffee. And
Okay, and
hot water with ginger and honey.
Nice. Okay, so just FYI, so sometimes people, depending on what you're putting in your coffee and tea, if you're putting creamers or milks, that can sometimes kick us out of a fast.
Hmm.
Honey could definitely kick you out of a fast. The
Hmm.
only way you'll really know if you're still in a fasted state and if you're enjoying a fasted snack per se, there are such thing as fasted snacks. They're like training wheels for fasting. Um, is that it's less than 10 grams of, well, protein will kick you out of a fast. So you can lean into like a healthy fat. So maybe a handful of olives if you need like something to get you
Okay.
through the next milestone. Um, so that's something. And then I really want you to attach you to your why. So the mental piece of a fast. So instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to do a 72-hour fast, really anchor to your why. So it's for longevity, you said, for health reasons, and for bloating and inflammation. Okay, we understand
Yes.
that. I'm going to share my screen in a minute and show you the fasting benefits timeline. And I would like you to you could take a screenshot of it with your phone or camera shot
Okay.
and anchor and just look at that and like really allow it to uh, I'm trying to minimize it so it can fit on one screen. Here we go. And that way you can, I always, use it as inspiration and then checking in with
Mhm.
your body and then understanding that certain things can come up during a fast. Like um, you could feel dizzy, lightheaded, knowing when to break a fast, knowing when to lean into a fasted snack, and knowing, certain things. Always like keep up on your minerals with your hydration is definitely
Mhm.
important. And a lot of it is more of a mental game than anything. I often find the
Mhm.
first 24 hours is the hardest, especially if we're dealing with bloating and inflammation, because often that could be candida imbalance in the gut. And this part of your microbiome is shifting and dying off. This is the part that craves the alcohol, the sweets, the carbs, the sugar. As that's dying off, it's part of I liken it to a little monster in your belly looking for food, wanting to be fed because it doesn't want to die, right? So oftentimes that first 24 hours, it's that gut reset. I'm gonna share my screen here so you can see what I'm looking at. Share. Sure. Um, so you can definitely see. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, I see it. I see
Okay.
it.
So I suggest taking a picture of this with
Yeah.
your phone if you
I'll take a
can
picture.
and going back to it. So I'll go over it with you briefly. Um,
17 cellular detoxification, cellular repair. Perfect.
Yeah. And so like that gut reset fast can help. If you want to kick like a sweet tooth or carb craving, a 24-hour fast might be something you want to lean into. And if you
Mhm.
do it, say if you normally finish eating dinner at 8 p.m., maybe move your dinner a little out an hour earlier, finish dinner at 7. So then
Mhm.
you're going till 7 the next day. And then
Mhm.
that's your 24-hour mark. And then if you just go to bed, you might feel like, gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna, it's just 24 hours. This was, challenge, and I don't know how I'm gonna make it to 72 hours. But if you go to bed that night and wake up around, say, 7 again, that's your 36-hour mark. And this is where you're likely,
Yeah, that's easy. I've done that.
okay.
Yes, that's great.
So, so the reason why that is easy is because you get into ketosis, that other side of the
Mhm.
metabolism that thrives and fuels the body. The brain thrives in ketosis. The liver starts making ketones, which is your other fuel source. You get mental clarity, energy. You become like a taskmaster. I always surprise myself at how much
Tina, can you get the phone?
focus
Okay.
I have.
So sorry.
That's okay. I
There
always
it
get
is. I got
surprised
it now.
myself at how much focus I have when it comes to stepping into that ketogenic state. And that's where you're going to start fat burning, detoxification, anti-aging, and you reduce the insulin store. So remember that insulin and cortisol are at the bottom of that hormone hierarchy, and our feel-good, happy hormones are at the top. our mood regulators, and then our sex hormones are in the middle. So if we want to work on resetting libido or mood, mental clarity, these are the things that can really help with that simple extended fast. So if you're having trouble getting rid of that stubborn belly fat, we hold it around our waist often, and it's our body's innate intelligence of putting the toxins and the excess hormones that the liver can't deal with when it's overburdened. When our toxic bucket starts to fill up, and oftentimes like a midlife, like entering perimenopause or a job change, or maybe you become like an empty nester, or maybe it's a divorce or something, an emotional thing, a trigger can tip our bucket over and make it more challenging during this time in life. So often that's why I think fasting is also another great tool to lean into. And it helps the body just kind of find balance again. And it gives the burden of the liver a break from digesting food and processing everything that's coming into the mouth. And so now the body's feeling safer to pull the toxins out of the waste, out of the fat storage units. And so you're going to have a better results when you start exercising. And when you bring food back into the equation, you won't store it maybe like you did before, if that makes sense. So then if you can make it to 48 hours, this is the dopamine reset fast. And that dopamine is like, where's your level of this enjoying the simple things in life. And like, our food system has hijacked our dopamine receptors with especially the processed foods and the chemicals and the flavors that they put in them, right? Like once you start, you can't stop with that bag of chips or the Pringles or whatever. There's a reason for it, because they've engineered these foods to be addictive, and to hit that, you get that dopamine hit when you put that stuff in your cart. Whereas I don't know about you guys, but we've all been there, but maybe we've kicked the habit of processed foods. And now when I have a Pringle, I used to love Pringles. And now when I have a Pringle and I taste it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I taste the chemicals in it. And I don't even enjoy it at all. And part of that is because I've changed my taste buds and I've changed my microbiome. And your microbiome is largely responsible for the food cravings that you have. So that's really, I think, a fascinating thing. So when you lean into a 48-hour dopamine reset fast, you're resetting those receptors. So you're bringing down your whatever is going to bring you joy in life. You're going to get joy out of the simple pleasures in life because your dopamine receptors are being reset. And it just has a ripple effect throughout a lot of areas in life. Can anyone relate to any of that? I see some nodding. Okay, cool. And then, so human growth hormone increases. So, people, like I was listening to a call the other day and people were talking about, oh, remember the fad in the 80s and 90s when people were taking HGH? Well, I don't, but I guess some people were. And then they realize it's not so good for you. Or now we're in that craze of taking these GLP-1s and these peptides, and people are like, well, your body makes them naturally, and it just supplements your body's ability to make this. Well, as you age, certain things we do lose the ability to make certain things in our body, including natural GLP-1s that are made by the gut microbiome. But when it's disrupted by the toxic lifestyle and the stress and the things that we put on our skin and our environment, well, why don't I always say go to your lifestyle first, optimize the gut microbiome, allow your body to heal before you try these other external factors. Because anytime you're putting something external, exogenous from the body into the body, like you're injecting these hormone GLP-1s or the peptides, as popular as they are, and people say there's no side effects, there's always a cost. And it also signals to your body to not make that anymore. So I always say optimize the terrain first, optimize age-appropriate function before you go to the hormones and the external things. And I'm not anti any of that. I'm just saying if you can optimize your internal body's intelligence first, that's the first line of defense for so even when you want to put your precious money, resources and time into external things, you're going to get more bang for your buck. And then again, certain things shouldn't be a forever thing. They could be cycled if it is an option that you've talked to your healthcare provider about and that's something you want to move forward with. So those these conversations are coming up a lot because people are asking, oh gosh, everyone's talking about peptides, everyone's doing it and they're getting amazing results. But just know that one, it should be cycled. Two, you need to optimize your terrain first, function first, age appropriate function first. Allow your body to be its own hero of your journey. Allow you to do the work and get the reward rather than reaching for the external sources that are often temporary fixes. Because once you go off them and you go back to your lifestyle, you've lost muscle, which is a problem. You've lost bone density. You've had the other side effects that we don't really know about yet. And then you gain whatever strides people typically make while on the medication. You've lost those gains, and then you're back to even worse than before you started. Anyway, I don't mean to harp on it, but if you do have a friend, I mean, these conversations are coming up, right? Have you had these conversations with friends lately? These are the things that people are talking about. So I think it's worth touching on since we're here and talking about the fasting lifestyle. It's not a fad. It's been around for decades. It's just the science is catching up to it. And now we can anchor to the science and lean into these as a tool, as a lifestyle to optimize and thrive through all phases of life. And that leads me to the immunity fast. So 72 hours is peak autophagy, which is that cellular cleanup. And your body, starts cleaning up stored fat, and the insulin and the cortisol are becoming, although I will say one thing about cortisol, do not lean into a fast if you are feeling stressed. Like if your stress level is more than a 5 out of 10, it's not a time for a longer fast. You don't need this hormetic good stress on top of being a stressed out person with cortisol out of whack. And just know that the time to lean into a fast is not 10 days before your cycle, because that'll throw off your hormones there. And then also, so you shouldn't be, if you are still cycling with a menstrual cycle, I mean, you're still cycling with a menstrual cycle, whether or not you have a period or not, just FYI, if you're postmenopausal. But you should cycle these longer fasts in the front end, first 3 weeks of your cycle, with day one of your menses being a day one of your cycle. If you are having this conversation with friends that are still cycling, and if you're still cycling. So just throwing it all out there for those on the replay as well. And, obviously I'm always asking you guys to share this information. So I never know where this information is gonna land. Again, this is all for educational purposes. It doesn't treat or diagnose any sickness or disease, but it does allow the body to heal itself and to find areas before you even know it, like symptoms. Before you're even experiencing symptoms, it can address things before they manifest as a problem for you. So that's why I'm in love with the fasting lifestyle. And then 72 hours is called the immune system reset. And this is where your muscle and skeleton system is starting to repair. We've all known, people are spending tens of thousands of dollars on stem cells. Again, the source needs to be considered. We don't know what exogenous stem cells, how effective they really are on the body. And what's better than activating your own innate intelligence, your own body's stem cells to go where the body needs it most. And most women that have had children, I always like to share this because people are like, oh boy, if they don't know and they experience it, it can be a little concerning. But often women who step into a 72-hour fast can feel pain around the hip area, around the hips and that low back area during a 72-hour fast, because this is what's happening. The stem cells are going to repair these soft tissue damage and the scar tissue that's formed through childbearing and pregnancy. So that's a cool thing. Like I've had a lot of people say, oh wow, I felt great mentally, I felt really good, but all of a sudden walking upstairs was really difficult. I had pain in the hips, and that's what's going on there. So some people ask me, oh, can I go longer than a 72-hour fast? Well, the answer is within you. You're always your end of one study, your own. You always have to check in with your body. You have the answer to that. No one else can answer for you. But I always say, just make sure you're well hydrated. Wear a continuous glucose monitor. They're actually more accessible and affordable these days. If you are curious about tracking your blood glucose and ketones, you can do that. A CGM or a Keto Mojo is a finger prick test that tests both blood sugar and ketones. Is this information helpful for you right now? I wasn't planning on going down this rabbit hole, but I love it. Okay, good. I'm seeing thumbs up. Okay, and And it's anti-aging. It's great for mental well-being, that brain fog, anti-dementia, Alzheimer's. If you know anyone that's showing signs of cognitive decline, please have them talk to somebody, a trusted healthcare provider that understands the art and science of fasting, because this is truly an amazing way, even that ketogenic diet, to turn on the ketosis, even in a fed state. And not to say that ketogenic diet is for everybody. There's not a one size fits all for anyone. And that's why I really am aligned with something that I can't wait to tell you guys about. It's called Shifa Precision, and it's going to be widely available in a month or two. But I've joined their business development team, and we are rolling this out for people to understand their full what informs your health and how to be personalized and precision for your unique makeup. And so this works on your full genome sequence as well as your full microbiome. And the microbiome is the quickest thing that shifts in your body that you have control over. And the role of the microbiome is so freaking cool. It improves, it informs your DNA, how to express, like what your DNA is like, well, should I wear jeans today or a skirt? And this is your microbiome communicating to your DNA to reads your internal and external environment to understand what genes to turn on to help you be the most resilient form that you can be today. So, and we optimize this by optimizing our microbiome diversity. So the 3 Ps are a key takeaway. You might want to write this down: probiotics, prebiotics, and polyphenols. And look for whole food sources of that. You can ask ChatGPT and pick your favorites, but dark chocolate, quality organic dark chocolate is one. When I say dark chocolate, I'm saying like 100% if you can handle it. Now I go back to milk chocolate and I spit it out. I can't even have milk chocolate. I'm saying your taste buds will change once you, when I was a kid, I didn't even like milk chocolate. I loved white chocolate. What is that? Pure sugar. It doesn't even have cacao in it. So if you can get yourself into cacao, like the actual Peruvian cacao, and make yourself a cacao uh, ceremonial cup and make a ritual around it. And it's so fun. In fact, at one of our next Harmonium meetups, I want to bring cacao to the experience because it's so delicious. It's packed full of polyphenols, helps with our gut diversity. Melanie, is there something you wanted to say? I just saw you
Oh,
unmuted.
no.
Okay, no worries. Sorry, I didn't want to, don't forget if you wanted to say, I didn't want to keep talking. So just don't worry about interjecting if you have a question. Um, so what I was going to say was, cacao is a great polyphenol source, and these are the 3 Ps that feed the diversity of your gut microbiome. So that's the name of the game. If you want to help improve your mood, your hormones, how well you break your food down, your bloating, your energy, how well you process excess toxins, hormones. There's a part of your microbiome called the estrobolome. What does that sound like? Estrogen, yes. A lot of us have issues with estrogen dominance. That looks like belly fat. It could be cortisol belly as well, stress belly, but oftentimes, or man boobs, or just carrying fat around the neck could be cortisol and estrogen dominance as well. So when we lean into the 3 Ps, we're optimizing our microbiome, which helps with these things. And this is like, we could do this with whole foods and we don't have to do it with medications and a fasting lifestyle. So the probiotics are the things that are live fermented foods. Those things feed good gut bugs, and the prebiotics feed the good is the food that the good gut bugs feed on. So that's like your fibers, fruits, and veggies. And then your live foods are the things that also feed your probiotics. So again, people ask me, what pro and prebiotics should I take or what probiotics should I take? I don't suggest anybody take probiotics. They in fact have more of a diminishing return. I have heard like Dr. Zach Bush say, if you're on a course of antibiotics, it's a good idea to maybe take them for maybe 3 days, like a quality, well-diverse probiotic. But after 3 days, it has diminishing returns. So you really want to get it from your whole food sources. Okay, that was a lot of information. Was there any questions that came out of that? Okay. All right. Okay, so yeah, so you can lean into a 72-hour fast. Um, the rule of thumb is twice a year, so it's 6 months-ish apart for maintenance. You can pull out one of these fasts from the fasting benefits timeline regularly. I always like to reference that breast cancer study they watched thousands of women across the worldwide, that had breast cancer and underwent traditional treatment, as well as they followed them for decades after. And the group that did at least a 13-hour fast every day had a 61% reduction in breast cancer reoccurrence. So this is powerful. Fasting is a powerful healing tool. And that's just 13 hours and you sleep through most of it. So just being aware of what breaks a fast, everyone's different. I mentioned using a keto mojo to measure blood sugar or wearing a CGM is a good way to understand your body if you're doing a longer fast, like 72 hours, just to kind of see what pulls you out of a fast. And again, there are such things as fasted snacks. So I mentioned a handful of olives can be a fasted snack, but the more diverse your microbiome is, the more of a fasted snack you can get away with without it spiking your blood sugar. So if you are pre-diabetic and worried about fasting insulin, even if you're not pre-diabetic, everyone should be worried about insulin sensitivity. So the order you eat your food and the breaks in between eating and fasting is going to optimize and make you insulin sensitive. Some of us have heard of metabolic syndrome, um, right? Obesity, diabetes, these types of things have been normalized in traditional care as part of aging, or it runs in your family. I'm here to tell you that the modern science has debunked that. You can absolutely interrupt familial patterns of these types of diseases or propensities. You might have a genetic predisposition for it. And this is a cool one. We do inherit our microbiome, but we do know that our microbiome is one of the quickest things that we can really change. Um, They've looked at the microbiome of obese people and skinny people, and they can put the microbiome of an obese person into a skinny person, and that skinny person can quickly gain weight. So it's our microbiome that has a lot to do with our food cravings, as well as how well we metabolize our food and our metabolism. So if we're having issues like that, or if we see family patterns of this, we can be empowered to break it. Also, things like autoimmune conditions and rheumatoid arthritis and autism have been highly linked to a gut dysbiosis. Gut dysbiosis is just a fancy word for an imbalance in the gut microbiome. And the microbiome starts in our mouth and it ends in it changes throughout our whole GI system, which I think is, well, our mouth to our anus is, I think, 13 meters. I might have got that wrong. Anyway, it's a lot of surface, it's a lot of space. So there's a lot of areas and opportunities to improve. And our oral microbiome is some of the quickest ways. So breath test. If you have bad breath, there's a high correlation with heart conditions. And if you have a friend with bad breath, don't just offer them a mint, give them some hygiene tips. I'm talking like good dental floss and like a flossing habit. And if you love that person, it's on you to gently remind them that there's something going on there. Oral health is so huge, and inflammation in the gums is huge. And the swishing with uh, you know, coconut oil or a quality mouthwash, not the traditional ones that dry them out, that have the dyes in them, that have toxic chemicals in them, but find a good one that it might have neem in it or something that can help. I have one that has cinnamon, neem. You know what? I'm gonna get it because it's right here. I'll share it. Okay, I'm totally off script today. It's 12:12. We've got a little over 15 minutes left. Are you finding this helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So can you see this?
No, can you take your screen share off so we're
Oh
doing
yeah,
better?
stop share. Yeah, good idea. My hands up. Is that helpful? If not, I'll put a
Yeah.
It's called
Runanda.
Guru Nanda Natural, and it um it says oil pulling, um it has clean ingredients, it has neem and ashwagandha in it, it has coconut and cinnamon, and I like the flavor. And then I just put a very small amount in my mouth and I swish it around for as long as I can. No
Can you buy
synthetic.
it on Amazon?
Yeah, you know what? I found this at TJ Maxx of all places, but yeah, I've seen it. I think you can get it on Amazon for sure. You can get everything on Amazon. Yeah, Guru Nanda, Nanda, 2 words, Guru Nanda. And I think it comes in different flavors, but I like the cinnamon, and cinnamon is antimicrobial, antibacterial. Coconut oil is great. So anyway, that could be a fun distraction when you're fasting. If you feel like you need oftentimes we need a state changer, and we use food as a state changer so often. So I will just say to that point, you can do a lymphatic stimulation if you're feeling a little dizzy when you're in a fasted state. Make sure you're drinking plenty of structured water, with whether that's with, a squeeze of lemon or lime or your favorite citrus. That helps structure the water. You can leave it out in the sun. If you've invested in analemma, this is my analemma bottle. If you're drinking hydrogen water, just know that these are all the tools in your toolbox that can help you through a fasted state, as well as, a pinch of salt. And you might need to lean into more salt. If you're feeling dizzy, that's often it's usually an electrolyte imbalance. So salt is your best friend. And I'm always talking about quality salt, right? If you have that white table salt in your house, please throw it away. I'm sure you don't, but Baja Gold is one of my favorites because it has lower potassium and it's richer in all the other trace minerals that you need. Bean minerals are, of course, my favorites. They have the electrolytes and the microbes that have the fulvic and humic acids, and which are so beneficial with gently detoxing. And when you're in a fasted state, you're mobilizing, your body's cleaning house, right? And it's mobilizing a lot of toxins. So make sure that you're sweating, make sure you're using your breath work as another detox pathway. So here's your major detox pathways: sweat through the skin, breath is a major, major one. Your lymph and blood, so lean into yacht stimulation, the dry body brushing, the bouncing that we've talked about, like whether you're just doing it on the ground and just not you're just lifting your heels up and bouncing down, and or you're slapping your body like this, waking up stimulation, like arms, and do that all over your legs, your head. And then make sure you're not clenching in the jaw, releasing the tension wherever you're carrying it. Think about the emotional aspect too. You're going to move emotions through the body. In Chinese medicine, emotions sit in our detox pathways. They affect all the organs. So know that emotions could come up. So it's not a time to probably solve problems with your loved ones, because you might be a little more edgy. You're purging things. You could have a rash. You could have a symptom like headaches or dizziness. And these are all expected because you're moving toxins. So keep up on hydration, elimination, and sleep is good, but you might notice you'll be sleeping less, because think about it. We sleep because we need to repair. And in a fasted state, you're repairing more. You're repairing 24/7. So you might need less sleep. So your sleep might be a little off. Know that it's normal. If your heart's racing, it's probably a mineral imbalance. So lean into, even sometimes I'll just take the Baja Gold and I'll put a few crystals on my tongue and then take a swig of water, and the headache can go away in 30 seconds. It's so quick. It's amazing. So state changers, like putting on your favorite song and kind of dancing around the room, or going for a walk with your dog or loved one, cuddling with your animals, playing with your kids. Oftentimes we confuse hunger with a need for a state changer, emotionally, mentally, physically. So call up a friend, write a love letter to yourself. You know what? Appreciate yourself for taking time to even lean into a 17-hour fast. And like I say, I can't say it enough. There's no such thing as a failed fast. Fasting is just a tool and an opportunity to learn where you need support, and celebrate the wins. Celebrate a 13-hour fast. That's huge. Celebrate a 15-hour fast. So if you don't make it to 24 hours, that's okay. There's always tomorrow. Don't beat yourself up on it. but know when to break a fast. So if you're sitting on the couch and you can't lift your arm up, that severe lethargy, like lethargic, nausea, dizzy, or you feel like you're going to even remotely pass out, always break the fast. And here's a good way to break fast. Have some bone broth on hand. It's really nurturing to the gut. Have some, again, hydrate first. And then also maybe half of an avocado is a great way to break a fast with like a spoonful of fermented sauerkraut or some fermented veggie on it. That's an amazing way to feed the good gut bugs, and to signal to your body when you do bring food back into the equation, that food is a healing source as well. So definitely don't recommend going and grabbing a burger and fries. That's a mistake. My husband did that once. So a cool thing is like he's seen me do this fasting lifestyle and he's supportive, but he has his own boundaries until he was ready, right, to lean into it. And it wasn't this last January, but the January before that Dr. Mindy was doing her 3-day water fast. And he's like, okay, well, I'll do 24 hours. And so he did 24 hours, and that 24 hours turned into like, I want to say he did 63 hours. And he played golf 2 days in a row. He was mentally switched on. He was working. He was having his meetings. He was social. And, every night it was funny. He's like, yeah, it wasn't so bad. 24 hours was fine. He'd wake up the next day and he goes, I'm going to eat today, but I'm not ready to eat just yet. And I said, okay, congrats. You did 24 hours. Celebrate. And then the day would go on and he's like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm not going to eat. I slapped a CGM on him, a continuous glucose monitor on him around that 48-hour mark. And the monitor did go below the range because it is made for a diabetic, and it's not an unsafe range, but for a diabetic it could be. So the monitor went off and it started getting in his head and it was saying that he was too low. And so he started Googling it. And like the other thing is Mr. Google can be, fearful as well. So he's like, well, I don't want to pass out and I said, okay. And we were in bed. It's not like he would have hurt himself or anything, but I gave him like a date with some nut butter on it, and it didn't spike his blood sugar. So dates are full of fiber. And but again, he was wearing a CGM, and so we were able to test to make sure that his sugar didn't spike more than 10 points in that 90-minute period. But if you're not wearing a CGM, you won't really know if something spikes your blood sugar or pulls you out of a fast. So if it's important to you to know technically if you're really in a fasted state, give a CGM a go or lean into a keto mojo. So Guy, he kept
Can a
just going.
CGM be bought on Amazon?
I believe these days you can. I believe so. I believe so. I got mine through Levels, which is Dr. Casey Means. That's her company. But I think there's more affordable ones out there now. So I bought a 3-pack and I used my last one. So I used one, he used one, and then I used one this last, January, because I was testing my body for some fasted snacks because I wanted to see, being my own N of one study, you understand the N of one concept is that everyone's unique and, there's a rule of thumb, but you need to know how things impact you personally, which is that N of one study. So that's why I was wearing a CGM because I was testing a few things to see if it would be a fasted snack for me. And I found some cool news fasted snacks for myself. So anyway, what else? Is there something else that I'm missing that we could talk about today or anything else that came up on the things that we've already discussed?
I was wondering
Yeah.
where you can buy that 100% cacao.
Oh, you can buy, there's a lot of online. Amazon has a lot of different, you can read the reviews, and I've used 3 or 4 different companies. I don't have any here right now, otherwise I'd tell you which ones they are, but mine are in Laguna. But it's so cool. And cacao is like an interesting thing to make, right? You can make it ceremonial, like very ritualistic. And I've done both ways. I've also made it in my Vitamix where I've put, I've measured out the serving size, and then I'll put warm water, like I'll boil water in the kettle, but I don't want it to get too hot. You don't want to boil the cacao because there's a lot of things in there that you don't want to necessarily, they just don't want it to come to a absolute boil, if that makes sense. So I make it warm And so I'll add cold water and then I'll add like things like, if I'm doing it in a fasted state, it'll be a different recipe, but I can add cinnamon and turmeric and minerals. I love to add the salt and the chocolate together, they complement each other so well.
Hmm.
I also add dates to it, but I know that that doesn't break my fast. So you might be different if you're doing it as a fasted snack, or if you're doing it as something to break your fast. It's a beautiful thing to do as well. So you can have it really bitter. You can add sweeteners, natural sweeteners to it, like a date, because I like you get the fiber and the minerals from the date, and it's not just like date sugar or date it's not just adding honey to it, so to speak. Anyway, so it depends on what your goals are and what you're going to make it with, but you can add a lot of different things to it to make it yummy. It's like chicken soup, 1,000 ways to do it.
Okay.
But we can have something, I think well, I'll be seeing the Harmonium meetup tomorrow night, but I'm not going to bring, I don't know how many people are coming to and I don't want to take away from the Harmonium event tomorrow night, but that's at Oxylon. I think it'll be too much of a distraction for the cacao, but I would like to do an intentional cacao ceremony with the Harmonium meetup, maybe in March. I think that will be a beautiful way to discuss it as a fasted snack, as well as just another probiotic or a polyphenol rich food it's heart opener. It can be used as a ritual for self-love. And there's a lot of ways that it's so beneficial for the mind and the body.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Awesome. So we have about 5 minutes left. So I did want to touch on what we're going to be exploring in March, and then also give you an opportunity to ask any questions. So March, we're going to be moving into our lungs and our breath. And I love bringing in the lens of Chinese medicine to this, because so every organ has heavy emotions and lighter emotions that are associated with them. And the lungs, the heavier emotions can be grief and loss and sadness. And so we're going to be touching on really seeing what's, on our subconscious, whether we're aware of it or not, our consciousness, moving that energy through our lungs. Our lungs is one of our major detox pathways. And we're going to be leaning into some breath work. And also the Zen Cleanse Lung Kit. It's a 30-day tonics to tonify the lungs and to help purge. We're exposed in our environment to a lot of things that can take root in our lungs and impair our lung function. So with certain things like, lung cancer being on the rise for non-smokers is a thing. It's one of those, unfortunate things. And so I think supporting our lung health is really important. And it's that exchange of energy, the gases, the oxygen that we need to support cellular function and vital tissues and brain health, as well as exchanging that CO2 that, again, our environment needs, the trees and the plants need to optimize their vitality. So also different capacity and energetics of our lungs. So I did make myself some notes. If I can find them real quick, I'll go over them. I kind of played with my screen here and I have so many things open. But does that bring up any questions at the moment for that? Okay. And then, I'm working with something called Oasis and Shifa Precision, and this is going to be available soon, but it really puts into context our biomarkers, our microbiome, and our lived experience and the exposures that we have that inform our health. So I'm really excited to bring that to you guys in the next couple of months and where that's going to be going. I'm hoping it's going to change how we look at our annual physicals and put things into context so we can make really good, informed, proactive, preventative, and precision choices for our longevity and how well we age and live and thrive in modern life. So with that being said, here is my little notes here. I'll just make sure there's nothing that I overlooked. Yeah. I think we covered everything. So March will be shifting into breath, and that's our powerful way to continue to move the blood and lymph and support the exchange of oxygen and CO2, help regulate the nervous system. So all of this, everything that we do doesn't really matter unless we regulate our nervous system. I mean, until we regulate our nervous system and get our cortisol in check, all the rest, it can kind of land a little bit and move the needle, but we always need to be coming back uh, to our nervous system as well. And like I said, in TCM and Chinese medicine, the lungs play a key role in our emotional and physical health. So grief, resilience, immunity, vitality, all live in this space. And again, everything's connected. So it's all a well-rounded way of kind of moving through the body. We've been kind of every month touching on the Zen Cleanse system and how that relates to our gut health, our liver health, and the roles that plays in our emotional, mental, and physical well-being and longevity. We've looked at lymph and blood this month, and then breath and the lungs will be moving into next month. And then in April, we'll be looking at, we'll wrap up with the kidneys and what that means for our total well-being. So it's all the major detox pathways that we'll be touching on. Okay, sound good? I'm just so grateful that both of you are, being consistent, showing up for yourselves, and for those of you catching the replays, I feel the energy too, and I appreciate the questions and in between and the feedback. So please, again, share it with your friends and loved ones. I just think we can create a ripple effect of people feeling empowered in their health. And I think Chloe joined us a few weeks back, and how's she doing? I'd love to get an update from her.
She's
And
great. She's not here on Wednesdays. So Monday, Tuesdays are her day. But I will forward the email. Do you have
okay.
her email?
I don't know.
Okay, so I will email you her email, and then if you forward it to me. There's one other girlfriend that's been hearing today, Janice. So I'll forward.
Okay, yeah, if you want to send me their emails, then I'll add them to
For
the report.
sure.
Thank you. All right, beautiful friends. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of the week. And I love having our Wellness Wednesday conversations together. It's so nice to see your faces and feel your energy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trish.
You're welcome. We'll see you tomorrow night, Mel. And
Yep.
okay. Thank you. Love you both.
Bye.
Bye.